Morning, good evening. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. We will be celebrating Father's Day today because it's our last session before the actual Father's Day. And it's an opportunity for us to reflect upon our Father. Okay, and you can prefix it with material and spiritual, eternal Father. So, a very warm welcome to all of you. And thank you, Padmini ji, for a wonderful session. And Beena ji for for the previous session. So thank you. And Radhe Radhe again. Let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru like we always do. So I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a sec. We'll get started. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Great. All right. So let's get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening to all of you once again. Let's get started. Today, being a Father's Day, I have picked up various references from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, then Ramayana, just to talk about and have a discussion around why God is our eternal Father. Okay, so we will talk about that. So, because it is Bhagavad Gita session, I picked up a shloka from Bhagavad Gita that was going to illustrate the point that we are going to discuss today. So let's get started. I picked up 15:7 today because it's Father's Day special. So let's give a few people have opportunity to recite it, and then we'll get into the discussion today. We're going to have some interesting discussion today. So I'm looking forward to that with all of you. Mame vansho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha manashasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. All right, let's have a few participants.
Radhe Radhe Samji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Mamaivansho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha manashasthani prakritisthani karshati.
Very nice.
Radhe
Thank
Radhe.
you. Radhe Radhe. Who's next, Rahul?
Radhe Radhe Dinesh, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Dinesh.
Radhe Radhe. Mamaivanso jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha manasrashtani indriyani prakrutistani karsati. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनः षष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति.
Very nice. Thank you. Next.
Radhe Radhe Ramesh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Ramesh.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Mamaivam, yeah, Radhe Radhe. Mamaivam sho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manashasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. All right, let's
Yes,
stay.
Ramji.
More hands.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Mame vancho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha mana shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Please the hands, Nitin ji. Right now there are 9 hands, so probably we can prioritize
Okay,
the ones who has.
on the video right now, and then we can move on because we have content to cover.
Radhe Radhe, Aparna ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe.
ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनःषष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe. Rahul.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe, Karanji.
ममेवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनः षष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. राधे राधे.
Radhe, very nice.
Radhe Radhe, Shri Ramya ji.
राधे राधे ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनःषष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. Thank you.
Very nice. Okay, we'll take 2 more hands and then we'll get started.
Radhe Radhe, Lakshmi ji, please.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Mamaivansho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha manashastrindriyani prakritisthani karshati. Radhe
Nice.
Radhe.
Take 1 more.
Radhe Radhe, Deva ji.
Radhe Radhe. Mamevansho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha manashastani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati.
Okay, very nice. Thank you, Diva. Okay, I see Pragi ji. You can go ahead. You've turned on your video, so maybe 1 more hand. We'll make an exception and then we'll get started.
Radhe Radhe,
Thank
Pai
you.
ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. ममेवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूता सनातनः मनः षष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति.
Very nice. Thank you. All right. So let's get started. We have sufficient content today. So sorry about that, Riya ji, Falguni Chenute ji. We'll get started. So maybe next time you'll get a preference. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying, the embodied souls in this material world are my eternal fragmental parts. But bound by material nature, they are struggling with the 6 senses, including the mind. So the point here is saying that we are the eternal fragmental parts of God himself, right? So our relationship with God is like part whole kind of a relationship. And he's not only saying that, but we'll look at some more references around it as well. So let's get started. So today is Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all of you. We have a lot of fathers here. So congratulations. And father is the first hero of a child as well, right? Not only the girl child, but boys as well. They are the first heroes usually. So it's an opportunity for us to celebrate fatherhood and all the fathers of the world. So let's get started on this. So basically, in everybody's life, there are stages. Okay, this is how it goes. Okay, you all can relate to it. The first stage is where you say, you know what, my dad is a hero. You know what all my dad can do, and we brag about it with our friends, family, and everybody. And our little one is also like, the moment he sees somebody, he starts bragging about me. Okay, he gives me powers which even Superman doesn't have, but that's what they feel. They want to believe in that, right? So that is the first stage where my dad is number one. You know what my dad can do? This is how it starts. My dad is the best. Okay, and they'll pick a fight with their best friends also if they say something to their dad. Okay, this is how it goes. Then comes the reality check, of course, where dad, you don't know anything. Okay, it happens fairly quickly, by the way, as they get into the teenage or maybe the tweenage in some cases. It happens pretty quickly. Some of you would be experiencing or would have experienced it or on the verge of experiencing it, right? Happens, trust me. That's God's way of telling you, you know what, they are individual souls. You thought they are mine and they have, they have come from you, kind of a deal, a bit of a reality check. And then what? Then happens the third stage, when people say, my dad used to say. This is the third stage that happens. And all the stages, these stages. So basically, these three stages do happen in everybody's life, typically. And the sooner, the shorter the duration between second and third stages, the more quickly you have become wiser, because then you pick up on the things of your dad, which are usually that they have learned through experience, they are trying to pass on to you, right? So the sooner that realization comes in, the quicker you have matured actually, or acquired the wisdom around it. Typically, that is how it goes. But I'm sure you all can relate to it. So father, of course, plays a critical role in molding the personality of a child, right? With a huge influence in addition to mother. Mother, of course, has a, in some cases, larger influence, because kids, it's an umbilical cord relationship that cannot be replaced by anybody anyways, right? But father plays a significant role as well in that sense. And that is why probably why Father's Day is celebrated as well. And there's a good reason to do that. So congratulations to all the fathers and happy Father's Day once again. Now let's take this opportunity to go a little deeper into this concept. Okay. Let's start with, what do we start with? We start with Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it says, this shloka, particular shloka, Bhagavatam 1.1.1. So Bhagavatam was the last one that Vedvyasa wrote. Okay. And the reason he wrote was because after creating the entire body of literature, creating or compiling Vedas, he still had a sense of dissatisfaction. Right. And then when he inquired God, he said, do you have a sense of dissatisfaction? Because all along you've been talking about the knowledge aspect of it. You have not yet glorified God. And only if you glorify God will your work will culminate, or, then you will have that sense of satisfaction, or that gap will be filled that you are experiencing right now. And that was the last scripture Vedvyas went on to write. And after that, his work was completed. So he contemplated before writing this, because he had to do bhakti. You cannot write scripture of the depth of Bhagavatam without doing bhakti, because it is all bhakti ras in it. Glories of Lord Krishna, leelas of Lord Krishna, and of course, Gud Tattva Gyan as well in Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam is known as, is the fruit. If the Vedas and the entire scriptural, the body of scriptures is like a tree, then Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of that. So just imagine ripened fruit of the entire scriptures that we have, that he has written, Puranas, Upanishads, and pretty much everything. So if our Vedas and our scriptural knowledge is like a sugarcane, just imagine how the fruit of a sugarcane would be. And that is what Bhagavatam is. And before that, he said that Arodhyam, Arodhyam Puni Puni Sarva Shastrani. He said, time and again I churned all the scriptures, and then what came out of is what I have put it in Bhagavatam. So the very first verse of Bhagavatam, right? Now the person or the personality about whom he's going to write about, he tackles that initially in the very first verse. What does he say? O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudev, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon the Lord Krishna because he's the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation. Now he's referring to Lord Krishna as primeval cause of all causes of the creation. sustenance and destruction of the manifested universes. Creation, sustenance, and destruction. Okay, all three are orchestrated, envisioned, and implemented by Lord Krishna himself. Okay, this is the very first verse of Bhagavatam. That is how it starts. So you'll say, so what? We'll tie this all together now, okay, with Father's Day. So we'll get there. And then Vedant Sutra. The very first sutra says Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now inquire who you are. And the second sutra, Vedvyas ji says Om Janmadyasya Yata. That is Brahman, that is God, from which we are derived the birth of this universe. We all, he is basically the cause of us. He gives birth to all of us, including this creation. Okay. That is what Vedant Sutra says as well. Okay. He's reiterating the same thing in Bhagavatam as well, not only creation, but sustenance and annihilation as well. So basically, we all come from God. This whole creation comes from him. Utpan, the person who's the reason for utpanning, utpan, then lay, and then the sustenance part of it. All three, palan and then lay. All three things that is done by God. That is the definition of God. Okay. So now let's look at this example. Waves in an ocean. You see the waves? I hope you like these waves. All right. So where do the waves come from? It comes from ocean. Where do the waves get water from? From the ocean. And where do the waves finally return to? Into the ocean. Okay. So if you look at it, the creation, the maintenance, and annihilation, all the cause for that is ocean itself. And our relationship to God is something like those waves. Okay. And there are multiple waves that rise up. Do those waves have any relationship between them? They don't have it. What is the cause of that wave? The ocean itself. Where do the waves go back after annihilation? Into the ocean. So that is how God is. If you look at it, relationship of, who creates it, the ocean is God, and the waves that are emanating from it is like us. That is why God is called the primeval cause of all that is created, and then it is sustained. Waves are also sustained by an ocean, right? And then finally it is annihilated. So loosely, if you can want to look at an analogy, that is how it is. And because of that reason, because we are getting created by God, right? In that sense, we have that relationship, a natural relationship that is established, as a fragmental part or as the cause of our creation. He assumes the position of our father. Right? In the material world, we come through our father, not from our father. Same thing with mother as well. In this case, the father of our father of our father of our father is actually God only, because he's the cause of all causes. Right? The cause of our father is our grandfather. The cause of our grandfather is our great grandfather, and so on. If you keep on taking it all the way back, the cause of all the causes is God himself. Right? So he's our supreme father in that sense. Let's build on this concept. Now, is our supreme father. So basically, let's extend this concept. So God is the cause of all the causes, not just us, but let's look at this whole creation. There are two aspects of this creation. One is Jad, insentient, and one is Chetan, the sentient aspect of it, right? Which is created by God himself. God has created it. Within Chetan, we have two aspects of God. One is the Swansh, one is a Vibhinansh. Swansh means something that is the God himself is, okay, his own expansions. Vibhinanshas, which are different, right? It's just like you have a liquid vessel with oil and water. Part of it is the droplets of the water itself, and part of it is oil. They're slightly different. They're not, same as water. So Vibhinansh. Within Vibhinansh, you have Nitya Siddh and Nitya Badh. Nitya Siddhar, within Vibhinansh also, Nitya Siddh means they are eternally God realized, always God. I don't know why those are VIPs. They are always Siddh. They don't have to do anything. And then Nitya Badh is something which have already been under Maya. Badh means under Maya. So these are the categories. So all of these are, end of the day, you can trace it back to God. The cause of all of these is God. If you employ a different lens to it, Sthavar or Jangam. Sthavar means something that is immovable, and Jangam means which is movable. Okay, so that is employing a different lens. So everything in this creation can be categorized under these two things, Sthavar and Jangam, or Jad and Chetan. So the cause of all of it is God. Everything is emanating from God himself. In Kathopanishad, it says God is like a spider weaves a web. Where does it get the material from? Its own body, and then it takes it back into its body. Similarly, everything that you see around, starting from stone all the way up to trees and animals and species and humans and everything is emanated from God. So he's the father of pretty much everything in that sense. That is why another name for God is Tum ho mere Jagatpati. There's a beautiful bhajan as well. For Krishna is Jagatpati. He is the Pati of the Pati of the Pati, basically the supreme Pati and the father of this entire creation. Okay. Let's take some more reference now. In Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas, it says, Ishwar Ansh Jeev Avinashi. It is basically again resonating with the same thing that Lord Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, the shloka that we picked up, right? Mame Vansho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Jeev is an eternal fragmental part of God. Fragmental part of God. So when we are part of something, that whole automatically assumes the position of being a father, right? Because we are emanating from him. We have a natural dependency on the whole. So that is the constitutional position of God in our life. He's our father. He's our supreme father in that sense. Now let's move on and look at some worldly relationships here, right? Now father-son relationship here. That's what we're talking about. Let's extend it a little further as well. Although it's not spouse day, but let's say husband-wife as well. Now this relationship, are these at the level of the body or soul? Anybody who wants to take that question? You have to put your thinking cap on today because we really want to get to the gist of this topic today. Yes, Shyam Sundarji.
All at body level, Radhe. We behave at body level, not at soul level.
Okay, but people say soulmate and stuff like that, right?
They say such, but they don't behave, act such.
Okay, let's take a couple of hands and then let's build on this to understand this concept that we're going to talk about. Yes, Prabhat?
Yeah, I think Samji also replied body, and probably Sabyaji also.
Bodily level. Okay. So yes, let's look at it. Now, father-son relationship is there, right? It's like you can have as in, pretty deep relationship that they have. Now, when the father, first of all, okay, let's look at it this way. When the father departs, what happens? If the relationship was supposed to be at the bodily level, then the body is still there. What kind of a decorum is it for the son to hit it on the head, the kapal kriya that happens when the father departs? It's not civilized and public decorum, right? I mean, it's not no decorum whatsoever. Why would, if the relationship is at the bodily level, why do we hit that body? So, and when we talk about spouse, you say soulmate and stuff like that. Let's say a spouse departs. Why do we say that you need to take the body quickly now? So think about it. What is the relationship here? Right. So if you think deeply about this whole thing, the relationship, natural relationship is established. The soul is departed already. Soul has moved on in its journey. right? Even though the relationship, it is a bodily level, intuitively, we realize that something that we had a relationship has already moved on. So it is a soul level. And if we are supposed to be so connected to each other, why don't we accompany the other soul? Or why do we basically move on? We have to move on, right? We don't even have the ability to accompany the other soul. In fact, we don't even want to accompany the other soul. Sati used to be a pratha where wives were forced to sit on the fire, not because they wanted to leave or depart along with their husbands. And even in this case, right, when we know that the soul has departed, so this person is no longer exist. And that's why we do all those kriyas, or we say take the body away. That means our relationship in this world, we have not, if you think seriously about it, these relatives are just like those waves, those tarangs that come in a sea, and once they merge, they are never to get reunited again. And then the new set of waves come and never to be reunited again. New set of waves come, never to be reunited again. I mean, they could, in some cases, right? I mean, God feels. In fact, we're going to talk about that concept as well. But then at a soul level, when you depart, son is not going with you. In fact, there is no even hierarchy. Son can go before father also. You say there is a hierarchy? Of course not. Right? And who departs along with you at that point? There's only one person who's departing along with you. When the soul moves on, who departs along with you, who's accompanying you at that point? Anybody from the worldly relationships? After doing Ram Nam Sat, everybody have to carry on with their lives. Okay, nobody can depart or accompany you at that point. There is one entity that departs with you at that point. Yes, Samji?
I think Antakaran.
Antakaran, of course, that is a baggage the soul has to carry. Who else accompanies you in your journey? Yes, Shweta.
Karmas.
Yeah, all that karmas, backlog, yes, that we carry for sure. Yes.
God goes with you because he was sitting in your heart, taking account of your karma and everything. So he accompanies you, whether you are a human or ant or elephant. So he's the eternal, your soulmate. So he's our real soulmate. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Shwetaji. Thank you. Yeah, so the Paramatma who is seated within, who's the basis of your existence, or the soul, where the soul derives its consciousness from. Paramatma is the only thing that accompanies you in your afterlife. Okay, so who's your true Nati? Just think about it. All the relatives that we spend our entire life doing this, that, spending our emotions, time, energy, lifetime after lifetime, everybody will move on in their life. Okay, the only thing that will accompany you is Paramatma. Now, whichever species you go, he's a very faithful companion. He does not say, hey, by the way, now you are human. I was enjoying sitting inside you. Now you become a donkey. Sorry, I have to depart you. Okay, it's a very miserable existence as a donkey, He will still accompany you. Right? That is the relationship we have with God, because we are his eternal fragmental part. He takes responsibility for us, or sustaining our soul, regardless of which species, which gross body we end up acquiring. I see a few more hands. You wanted to add something, Sandhya and Rahul?
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Yeah, I mean, apart from Super Soul, of course, God, the relationship with Guru also stays beyond a
Yeah,
single, right?
we'll get to that concept as well. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rahul,
So I was just asking.
move on. Sure.
Yeah, there were similar comments in the chat also. I think the participants are well aware of that. So Paramatma, Antakaran, Karma, spiritual assets.
Yes, I'll get to that. So let's continue this discussion. We'll get to the remaining hands. So in that sense, yeah, so God definitely accompanies us. There's something else as well. Okay, that happens. So we'll talk about that. So let's understand the superficiality of these relationships in this world, first of all, right? As soon as the soul departs, the body is intolerable to the same people who used to tell that body, I love you and I can't live without you, and we are soulmates and this and that. Of course not. Everybody has to move on. Nobody accompanies you. And for all the emotions that you said, oh, this was mine, that was mine, it's put into perspective in those, few moments or hours after your soul departs. Okay. And every soul it comes with its own expiry date. It's like a train journey, where you just go with your ticket, where you have to get down. The co-passenger will not get down along with you, or you are not even allowed to continue your journey. Train ticket will TT will come and say, hey, your ticket was till here only. In that case, the ticket and the TT is Yamaraj. Okay, he does not let you go beyond the station where you were supposed to get down. And that is how the life journey unfolds, right? So all the time, that, see, it just puts things in perspective. End of the day, it's a journey. It's your journey on your own. You're like a lone mountaineer. God is accompanying you. He's noting your karma down and waiting for you patiently when you will come back to him. And all the relationships and this ghar ghar khel that we start playing every lifetime and making it a priority, which keeps us busy, by the way, it put into perspective at the time of death. Okay. Then if you look at your life in a slideshow, then you will say, oh my God, and every lifetime it happens. Regret. I wasted every part of it. This was my reality. What did I do? Where was I keeping myself busy? But God, next time around, I'm going to break all the records where I get this chance. And next time again, the same drama unfolds. And that becomes the story of our lives, lifetime after lifetime. Okay, it doesn't change. By the way, there was Anita Nurjani, is one of her stories. So she says she had that ND experience where she could see herself out of her body. And when we are actually situated in that particular thing, you feel so much of peace and all that you don't want to get back into this cross body. And when she was looking at her mother and her husband, she could see her body there, her husband and mother as well. She was very deeply attached to her mother. And she had fought the entire world to marry this guy. Okay. And at that position, she was feeling nothing about them, because she understood, when you are situated in that position, when the truth and the reality dawns on the soul, we are ignorant right now. That's why we are so hooked up in the worldly things and worldly relations and giving so much of time to unnecessary things. When the reality dawns, you really think, you have that aha moment. Your face should not widen at that point. Okay, by the way, this was the whole drama and my situation, my reality was this, and probably I should have done that. That happens every time. But again, that drama unfolds when we come back in as a human, and all the relatives, they catch hold of us, and then we keep repeating the same drama. So let's move on here. Now, what does Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam say about the other concept? It says, I'm not going to recite it. Such materialistic persons are allowed to go to the planet called Pitralok. Now, let's say your attachment is in this world only. I have a moral right to get attached to my parents, right? My mother and father. See, attachment is one thing, responsibility is another. Detachment doesn't mean you turn your back towards your parents, or turn your back towards your relatives, or turn your, become a completely, I don't care kind of an attitude. No, that is a different thing. But our scriptures say, Bhagavatam says, if you are materialistic consciousness, where you are too attached to the worldly things, then what happens? Then you go to Pitralok, southern course of the sun. They again come back to this planet and take birth in their own families, beginning again the same fruitive actions from birth to the end of life. Again, you are back into your own families and keeps repeating this drama. So there are stories, right, where, if you are attached to your grandson, maybe you'll come as his son in one of his lives, right? That is possible, because wherever your mind is, wherever your asakti is, that's where you will repeat. And if there was a story where there was a guy, he used to run a shop, and there used to be a dog who would come every time, and he would wield a stick at him. And then Naradji comes and, he laughs at that sight. And then he was asked, why are you laughing at this sight? You know what? This guy is whacking a stick on his own father. It was his father in his previous life. And he has so much of attachment to his shop that even after this, he's coming back to that shop. And then he gets a tight whack from his son only. That is how relationships go back and forth. And if you come to know, the son is becoming wife, and wife is becoming father, and father is becoming sister, and all that stuff, your mind will get into a spin, and those kind of things do happen. And Bhagavad Gita also says, Bhagavad Gita 9 chapter 21 verse, it is stated, such persons are elevated to higher planetary systems. As soon as their lifetimes of fruitive activities are finished, they return to this planet. They go up and come down. They are elevated to higher planets again. They could go to higher or lower depending upon their karma. Don't think you'll always go to higher. It really dictated by karma only. And then they're saying that different prescribed rituals from birth till end of life, basically they keep on repeating based on the attachment that you had. So if a father has an attachment to his son, deep attachment, or a son has it to his father, then there's a good possibility they'll repeat around. They may come back as daughter or maybe as a wife, anything. They keep going back and forth. They keep on repeating here. Now, let's talk about this concept, right? The relationships that we spoke about, the relationship with spouse to begin with. Then you have a relationship, right? Fatherly relationship. Let me know if you see any more, mother-daughter relationship. Then you have siblings, these are the different relationships where we have our asaktis, our attachments. Then we have friends, Pepsi friends, Dil Mange More type. Then you have grandparents, right? Asakti with grandparents, and then the whole family, let's us call it, okay. Cut the long story short, and whole family. Okay, all of these, they belong to the Supreme Father. Okay, he's the father. We have already looked at it from scriptural references, Bhagavatam, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita. They belong to Supreme Father. So technically, these jivas, they are assuming this different role of a father, mother, and all that stuff, right? Which is kind of a game that we are playing. So technically, these souls, what do they become? If you are you have the same father, what is your relationship then with each other? Brother, okay. Now, I'll not limit it to brethren, because if you are a Shobha De fan and you don't want to call me that, so I'll say sister as well, okay. So regardless, souls are technically, right, if you look at it, there is only one Param Purush. So we all have a relationship of brothers and sisters with each other in that sense, right? In KV we used to have Hum Sab Bharatvasi, Ek Dusre Ke Bhai Behan and all that stuff, but technically we all people are related to each other like this only. We are spiritual brothers and sisters only, right? Because we have the common father here. And within that game, we have assumed different things. I am your father. The Jeev has assumed a role, even though we are spiritual, what you call fraternal relation, right? Fraternal, yeah, kind of relationship we have. We have assumed that roles temporarily, with each other as a father, mother, brother, sister, spouse, and all that stuff. So God is our Supreme Father in that sense. Okay. On Father's Day, let's understand that part and acknowledge that part. And he's waiting with his open arms for us to embrace him. That is the whole idea of spirituality. And the more we acknowledge his fatherhood, right? There's a story where soul says, what kind of a father are you? Even a soul, even in the material world, if a child is in a ditch, a person will take, out of compassion, they can pull them out of ditch and do something about it. And you have been seeing me tormented by Maya lifetime after lifetime. What kind of a father are you? And you don't do anything at all. So God says, fair point, soul. I just have one question. First, do you really believe I'm your father? Right? That's the question. Do you really believe I'm your father? Do you even have that ashray or that faith or belief? We don't have it. Right? Hum jante hain, mante nahi. So God is saying, I'm waiting for you with my open arms. The more you will rely on me, the more I will take control of your life. That is the whole purpose of spirituality. That is the whole idea of surrender. Ashray buddhi. We'll take a session on surrender concept itself. And in addition to that, that Supreme Father, he doesn't manifest. Now, we will not get the benefit of Arjun, the benefit that Arjun got. Right? Supreme Father is not going to manifest in front of you. And even if he does, we don't have the benefit of the vision or the purity to see God in his full glory. And that is where the Guru concept comes, right? His grace flows through Guru. He sends Guru from time to time for the soul. So Guru is our father, proxy father for God. So both father and God, Guru assumes the role of our father because they work on us. And they are father in the sense, if we are daughters, right? If technically soul is female only, right? If we are daughters, Guru is the one who is working on us to get us ready for the bridegroom one day, or for our spiritual father one day, right? Like the parents' work, basically it's all the hard work of the parents and whatever girl learns or on her own as well. And then finally a boy comes and picks up the girl. So Guru is like that father who's chiseling the soul, working on the soul, preparing the soul so that it can meet its eventual spiritual father one day, in that sense. Okay, so that's where God and Guru both assume the role of our father, in addition to our material father, of course, that we need to pay respect to, and we are indebted to them as well for bringing us forth and nurturing us, in our childhood, and giving us the initial sanskars that we have. All right, any questions so far on this concept that we have spoken about? I know we discussed a lot, but hope it puts the concept of all the relationships that we have in perspective. And then we just have one relationship, okay, or Guru. And the relationship with Guru is also, we spoke about who accompanies soul? God accompanies soul. What is the role of a Guru? Guru, once he holds your hand, that means you have accepted him as your Guru, and he's a realized saint. He does not leave your hand. Even if you want to leave his hand, Guru will not. Why won't he leave your hand? Because his job is not accomplished until he has taken you across the ocean of Maya. They will not leave your hand. You like it or you don't like it. Okay, that is the role of a Guru. That is how deep that relationship goes. These are the two relationships that are eternal. And from that sense, they are our true sambandhi or nati. The sambandhi in this world, when we say I have to go to my relative's marriage, what relative? They will move on, you'll also move on. The true relatives are these two only, which are eternal relationships. The rest all are superficial relationships, and they don't go too far, basically. Now, if you have a Sakti in somebody in this material world, whoever it is, then you will end up repeating here. Maybe you may end up becoming their family member, their son, daughter, and all those kind of things. They keep on happening, right? Family members, they keep on repeating based on their asakti. The flip side of that is, if let's say you had an asakti in one of your family member, deep-rooted asakti, and because of their karmas, they became a donkey, you will also have to become a donkey, right? It's a very, very, very risky proposition. So play your game, afterlife game wisely. All right. Any questions on this concept? Happy Father's Day once again.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions in the chat. Maybe I can take one and then we can take one of the other participants. From Ajit is, I think you partly answered that. If God is sitting within us, then why are we waiting for grace of God for whole life?
Right. So why are we waiting for grace of God for whole life? That's true. So God's grace has a principle. Okay, God's grace has a principle. It's depending upon your surrender or sharanagati, or acknowledgement that I'm dependent on you. So the more you do that, if you want this much grace, you surrender this much. If you need this much grace, you surrender this much. If you need this much, you surrender this much. Now you say, why does God put a principle of grace? There's a reason for that, right? The saints, they achieved super consciousness by invoking God's grace. And it cannot be whimsical. If God graces everybody, right? It's like the story of two sons and a farmer. One of the sons used to work hard. He worked on himself, and father, gave him incentives around it, maybe part of his property or whatever. And the other son used to sleep through the whole day, and he gave him that as well. Then the son will say that, okay, what is my father is not, that justice system of my father does not make sense. So that is why God, being perfectly just, has to follow certain rules. And all the people who have achieved super consciousness have achieved it by working on themselves and by becoming Sharanagat to God. And if you start distributing in free fund, they will say, why did you make us work so much? Why don't you grace everybody and make everybody God realize? God says, no, you have to become good. You have to invest on yourself. And as you start working on yourself and increasing your ashraya on God, He will start gracing you. His regular general grace is available to all of us. The very fact that He's giving us life, the very fact that He has given us fruits to eat as per the season that is needed by our body, the very fact that He has given us air and water, all those graces are available, sunlight, everything. So general graces are available to everyone. Special grace is reserved for people who do their antakaran shuddhi and increase their surrender. That is how it goes.
Radhe Radhe. Beautiful session, Nitinji. Very enlightening. Loved it. Happy Father's Day to you, to everybody here. Nitinji, can you go back to the slide which said about Pitraloka? I have a question there, but I don't recall the content exactly.
Okay, Pitril. Okay, so basically, yeah.
Yeah,
So
this one only.
Mhm.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Yeah. So this second line says, planet called Pitraloka by the southern course of the sun. So the southern course of the sun, like Bhishma, we were talking the other day, right? Bhishma and Karna, they are very enigmatic characters for me. So I have read this. Correct me if I'm wrong. That Bhishma waited till the northern course of the sun to
Uttarayan.
to leave his body. So
Yeah.
was that the reason he did not want to take birth again? Like Pitraloka, you come to Pitraloka, you go to Pitraloka, you come back because you have affinity for your family. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, typically, I think, I mean, again, I'm not an expert on this subject, but Uttarayan is an auspicious occasion. So all the people who have spiritual ambitions or those souls, they depart during Uttarayan. So it is considered auspicious. And Bhishma was not an ordinary person. He was one of the 12
Yes.
Mahajans, like we spoke about, right?
Mhm,
And he
mhm.
waited till Uttarayan, that direction of sun to change before he could leave his body around it. Now, it is said that people who have materialistic ambitions typically go in to Pitraloka because that's where the ancestors and everybody, right, they say, and then they come back to this world to complete their ledger and balance that credit debit game that they are playing with their relatives around the thing. But yeah, Uttarayan, I can do some more research on that. Uttarayan is considered an auspicious occasion to depart your body. Even chakras, they say, for that matter, when you depart your body, which are the auspicious chakras, if you do that, we can't control it until we are Videh. Right? Videh means we are beyond the body. That is why it's called God realization does not happen at the time of death. It happens before that. Okay. Because at the time of death, the mind is so disturbed that everything is happening involuntarily, in a disturbed state of mind. But only people who have transcended their body in their lifetimes can actually know, okay, this is happening to me and this is what I want to do now. Okay, so they can dictate how this whole thing is happening. They can not negotiate, but have some kind of a reasonable dialogue with Yamraj at that point. For us, most of the people, I should say, not say us, most of the people, Yamraj forcefully does that. And the soul is saying, no, 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 don't do it. It's like that umbilical cord. There is an astral cord that soul is connected to the body with. And it's very painful for a body to let go of it. So Yamraj just pulls it forcefully, and that's how it goes. But yeah, I'll get some more answers for you if you want to know a little bit more about this topic, Southern Sun, Uttarayan, and all that stuff. But yeah, Bhagavad Gita says that they typically go in those that kind of a setting of sun, and because they are destined to come back to this world in whatever species at that point. Yes.
Radhe Radhe Prabhatji.
Radhe Radhe. So my question is related to the current slide. Yeah, this one. So here you mentioned that it's like our relation is brother-sister relation. So is it brother-sister or sister-sister?
Sister, I would say. Okay, or brother. Whatever. Basically, point here is we have a fraternal relationship because we have a common father and we are all his sons and daughters, whatever you want to call it, right? Now, if you consider yourself son and other as daughter, then is brother, sister. If you consider both as son, brother, if you consider yourself as daughter as well, then sister. The point is, it's a fraternal relation more, and then we have assumed the role of other relationships. It's a temporary setting that we are in, and actually thinking ourselves as that, right, based on the position that we are in society at that point. So it from soul does not have a gender as such, right? And if you truly want to attribute a gender to the soul, then God is called Param Purush, only Purush. Then everybody is a female in that sense, right? So you can say sister in that way. Sakhi, we all are Sakhi. Doesn't seem very enchanting, but yeah, that's a fact. Okay, for all the dudes out there in the world. Yeah,
there is a question in the chat that seems like God has given us a tough job. So we are supposed to deal with everyone with love, but not get attached. So is true selfless love not possible in the world, or is selfless love always towards God?
selfless love is not possible in this world. See, selfless would happen when we have become siddh. We have attained what is there to be attained. And even if we are 90.01% remaining and we are not attained that perfection, we are still have a tinge of selfishness in us. The most selfless relationship, the closest to selfless relationship that comes in this world is the umbilical cord relationship of a mother with a child. Although that is also not completely selfless, but that is the closest to that. Now, it's not a tough job. When you are truly operating in love, it is freeing up. It is your attachment that binds you. And when you operate out of love, it is actually a big freedom that you can enjoy. And it is a good spot to be in. And that can only come when you have worked on yourself and you become so pure that only thing that you can offer to the world is love and compassion, right? Regardless of which relationship you are dealing with, doesn't have to be limited to your own near and dear one alone at that point. So love is a very good spot to be in or to cultivate in your heart, but they are all related concepts, right? You have to contemplate upon it, but you have to work on yourself as well. So when your antakaran starts becoming pure, by attaching to all pure God and Guru, then automatically love will manifest. So spirituality is telling us to invest on ourselves to improve yourself. That's all it is. And people who say we don't believe in all this stuff, if they are wrong, right, just think of what they're losing. And people who are spiritual, there's no flip side. World is still waiting for you. World is not going anywhere. In the process, you are becoming better in dealing with the world. Everything to gain in that sense.
Radhe Tarunji.
Radhe. So Nitinji, my question is one of the example you given for the attachment to your family member, and if he become donkey, then you can also get that way. So my question is, if I take it positively, if the person we are attached to and he is too spiritual and he goes to the Golok, then can we also?
True. So that is why they say when a saint is born in your family, 7 pushtas are taken. The Prahlad asked this question when God said, I'm very pleased with you. You need to ask me something. Okay. So in Prahlad, one thing that he asked, that was a classic reply that he gave. He said, okay. If you're asking me to ask you something that I may ask, that I may not ask anything. Okay. Ever to God. And second thing that he asked was, can you please forgive my father? That is what Prahlad asked. And God said, don't worry about it. Your 7 generations are taken care of. So it's like when a realized soul or somebody realizes God in a particular family, the Pitris and ancestors, they dance and joy because they are taken care of as well. But having said that, God's perfect algorithm dictates that it's not going to hit a jackpot just because you should have acquired a lot of merit to even get that kind of a person in your family, right? And if you get it, of course, you need a lot of merit, right, for you to justify having such kind of a lineage. So yes, God's algorithm takes care of that as well. There are no free hits. You don't get lucky just like that. You should have worked hard on it, and then you may come across somebody in your family who's realized, and then you get lucky. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
There's a comment from Arunji that he says that generally it is said in scriptures that Uttarayanam has chance for moksha, while Dakshinayam doesn't. That is why Bhishma waited for it as well.
Yeah, they say that. So in Uttarayan, you go to spiritual, basically abode or moksha, or it is considered auspicious. That is why he waited, and he has Ichha Mrityu Vardhan, so he utilized it. Yes, any other questions on that?
Yeah.
Hope the relationships aspect is taken care of today. I mean, at least to some extent. We pay a lot of, we spend a lot of emotions, time on that. It's a waste, basically, what you are doing. Okay. You have just created your own, what you call that, entertainment, and nothing more than that. And agendas, self-created agendas, nothing else. Of course, you have to do that, but put it in perspective. Life is a preparation, death is an examination. And then when your report card will come, Yamaraj is not going to give you credit for all the marriages and other things that you attended with Mami, Masi, Tayaji, Chachaji, uncles, sons, this and that. Okay. We have to put it in perspective. And so much of noise that we add in life, without realizing, we are frittering away this golden opportunity. Okay. Because end of the day, we are all alone. Nobody's going to accompany us. And Even Valmiki, or I think one of the thing, he had that moment where he asked his wife, "Are you going to share my credit of all my sins because I work for you?" He said, "Of course not. Why should I?" So you go with your pap and punyas, and nobody else accompanies you. Okay, so just keep that in perspective and all the choices that we make in our day-to-day lives. Yes.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Sandhya ji.
Radhe Radhe, in line with this statement that it's good to have association of spiritually elevated personalities. So that can be helpful, but it is definitely not sufficient. You cannot be complacent that, okay, if I have, right? And
very, it's a good thing. It's like, see, God gives us freebies from time to time. God can give us conducive situations, maybe friends, accomplices. He can arrange for a guru as well, opportunities, inspiration, all that God can give. These are his graces, but we can't take them for granted. If we don't make most of it and we are lazy about it and keep procrastinating or not thinking deeply about it, then we don't know when this opportunity, God may choose to give that scholarship to somebody else if we don't make use of it. Somebody might be desperate for it, right? Their situations are not comfortable at home. Their spouse may not be cooperating. Their situation may be so terrible that, they have so many things to worry about, big families, responsibilities, worrying about where the next food is going to come on their table. So many things can go wrong in our life, and they are desperate. Only if we had favorable situation in our life, we could work, we could get seva, we could get good association, we could hear to good knowledge. They only crave for it and they don't have it. So God may choose to give that opportunity to them to see how they make use of it, because if we are frittering it, we cannot take it for granted in every life, because it's there, may not be there. And then who's the loser? We are the loser in that case.
And there are a few questions in the chat, if I can read
Sure.
them. So why is soul female and guru he? That's the first question.
Soul is all, if you want to call a gender for a soul, then basically there's no gender for the soul as such, but God is called the Param Purush. And with that definition, every soul, including guru, is a female in that case.
Attachment to a donkey should not make one a donkey. For example, the relation in afterlife may be as a human and a donkey.
No, if you truly have an attachment to a donkey, then it's a sure shot way to become a donkey. Okay. Because Bhagavad Gita says, wherever your attachment is, that is what you end up achieving. So it's a very simple principle. Our attachment is in world. That's why we repeat in world. If for most part of your life, you meditate upon God, you'll end up achieving God. And if for most part of life, your attachment, asakti, is not in this world, see, there's world and there is God. There's no third area. And within world, there are different areas. It could be relatives, it could be people, it could be pets. So depending upon your secret stash, that is what you'll end up achieving. If your pet becomes a human, sure, you may become a human. If your pet becomes God realized, you'll become God realized. And if your pet repeats in the same species, you'll repeat in the same species as well. It's a very simple principle God has given, right? In Bhagavad Gita, it says, whatever thought that you have at the time of your death is what you will end up achieving. And that thought is dictated by how you have primarily led your life, where you have put your thoughts and emotions to. You cannot change that thought at the time of your death, right? If your tooth starts hurting, God is the last thing that will come to your mind. Your mind will become random. Random thoughts will come. Right. So build your, that's why we need to invest our time wisely, so that we are building those sanskars, so that, and hope that at the time of our death, we have perfected our practice so much that, something favorable will happen. Otherwise, anything can come. There was a guy who was dying, and all of a sudden the smell of non-veg came in his nostrils. All of a sudden he had given up non-veg. That smell came from his neighbor's house. Next life, he had to become a tiger or a lion. Okay. Anything can happen at the time of death. We don't know. So got to be very careful where we are investing our thoughts, mind, and energy on. That is why building seva into your routine and contemplating about God and stuff like this is helpful, because we are increasing our probability of remembering God and doing our kalyan at the time of death, typically we do a lot of damage at the time of our death. Damage is already happening. We compound that damage by having a random thought at that point.
And in the context of God farmer story, does God then follow material laws?
God does follow material laws for the sake of setting an example. He does for most part, but he's not obligated to. Okay. It's like you have traffic light. The car has to stop. The motorcycle has to stop, but helicopter doesn't have to stop, right? So God is like that helicopter. He's not bound by any material laws, even though for setting an example, he does. Like he also makes a guru, and then in Maryada Purushottam Avatar, he followed all the rules. In Krishna Avatar, he broke some of the rules, but then God is not obligated to. He's not bound by material laws because he's the lawmaker himself. But to set example for others, he does. Any other?
There are actually, but I don't know if I should read them right now, but we can probably take hands, then we can read some more questions.
I know we are over time today, so you wanted to, Aparnaji, maybe one question we can take, and then Urvi, you wanted to go through the tracker part of it. We have created a tracker. See, now as part of this journey, if you want to work on yourself and you want to declare a war on some of the things that you have always procrastinated working on, Urvi has created a wonderful tracker where you can lock in your commitment, start recording your scores, and within a matter of few weeks, you would say, you know what, I have become better in this thing that I always wanted to. So if you're there, Urvi, you can share that. Otherwise, we can take Aparnaji's question. And I think we have to move to devotional segment, right? Next one. Maybe a couple of questions we can take from Akshita ji and Aparna ji.
Yeah,
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji. Oh, by the way, thank you for beautifully answering my earlier question about selfless love being tough. Thank you so much. My other question is, recently my dad passed away a few months ago, and my mom a few years ago, and all the three of the kids, like my siblings, we prayed that we want to have the same parents in our next life. They brought us up with so much love and all that. I was just wondering, is that possible? I was the one who added that if there is a human life for me, then I would want to have them as my parents. But is that really possible, or it's just doesn't work that way?
So the thing is, you might have confused God, because you would have done the same prayer in so many lifetimes for different parents, right? That is your sanskar, basically, not the same thing. So what if you have done a similar prayer because you feel so strongly attached to that for different parents in different lifetimes, then it's very confusing for God, right? I'm just getting around that part. What I'm trying to say is that, of course, God's algorithm will dictate that he would know whom you have had really strong attachment with, right, in this life. So quite possible, maybe possible, and you may not have them as a parent. They may come in your family as something else. That relationship might be. So we don't know. That is a very complex algorithm. But the point is, we form such kind of strong associations in every lifetime with different souls. And every lifetime we think, oh my God, this is the person I want to be with. Every lifetime, right? It's not that the first time and this is not the last time we are doing it. But when we understand the broader picture, we let God decide what is best for us. So if he feels that it is conducive for your journey, and even otherwise, if you really feel that you had this really big secret stash, then, that is how he's already said in Bhagavad Gita, he'll make you repeat in this world, so that you get another opportunity to see and experience for yourself the bliss you still did not get. It became a cause for another repeat in this world, nothing more than that. So we don't know. That is an algorithm. God only has it.
So ideally, we should not wish for anything other than love for God.
True. Okay. If there is anything we should ask for God, is it love for God or more bhakti? Because that is the only thing that will truly take us, beyond this cycle of material creation. But we keep on, telling God that we want to repeat here, and God, like an indulgent father, makes us repeat in this world, lifetime after lifetime, until we make a resolve that we need to get out of it.
Thank you so much, Nitin.
No worries. My pleasure.
Nitin, you have been speaking since the past 1 hour continuously. So
I've been
want to still take one or two. Yeah.
Maybe we can take one more couple of questions.
Queries.
Okay, maybe 3 more questions to the hands which are raised, because it's a pretty interesting conversation, and then we'll move to the devotional segment.
Radhe Radhe, Akshita ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Akshita ji.
My question is actually we are talking about the attachments, right? So if we get attached, sometimes in the process we lost the attachment to few things, and they may be attached to ourselves. So in that case, how it will happen?
You have lost attachment, they are attached to you, huh?
Yes, yes.
Then it's a huge responsibility for you to become God realized if you want their welfare, because they will follow you wherever you go. Okay, so you are now forced into a position of responsibility by them.
Okay.
Okay, and
No.
they'll blame you if you go into other species. Okay, they say, see, we got attached to you, now you become this. So you better work on yourself and become borderless to help them. Okay, in that case. Yeah. I would say, even if you're not interested to go to Golok, do it for them. Okay, they'll be very happy for you.
Okay. So, and so that this question is there. So somewhere, is it a positive attachment or the negative attachment? I don't know. So if they want to keep us in the mind, we might have lost the interest or whatever the attachment, we lost it, and they want to keep the attachments or the thought process positively or the negatively. How it will impact us in coming next?
It will not impact you. It's their karma. Okay, positive or negative attachment, both are rag and dvesh, both are attachments only. So they will repeat or after you. That's what's going to happen. Okay, wherever you will go. Rag and dvesh are both are attachments only. One is positive, one is negative. It doesn't impact you, it impacts them. The person who's harboring it, right? It's their karma, not yours. Okay.
Radhe Radhe, everybody. Nitinji, so not a question, but something that I just wanted to add really quick, because since you brought up Anita Murjani's topic, that I got so curious that I actually bought her book and read it. And then so when she leaves her body and feels that near-death experience, she actually feels the light. And then she says, there's something beyond light. And I knew it. And, people don't talk there. But then I just knew it that if I cross this light, I will never come back. So at that moment, I had to decide if if I was sent back or if my karmas are still left. But then she knew that there's something beyond light, right? So then now, of course, I can relate that the train concept that you showed that, right? That once you're there, you see the light first, and then in case you're aware, then you go further. So that is.
Yeah, beyond light was the toe, nail of a toe. And beyond toe was the feet, and beyond feet was the whole body of Krishna, basically. Very true. Yes, Jyoti ji. Jyoti Mondal ji.
Hello, can you hello, Pranam, Radhe Radhe, can you hear my voice?
Hello, Pranam, Radhe Radhe, yes. Thank you for the 3 greetings.
Yeah, Nitinji, this is my first session, and I just enjoy this lecture so much. I have a question is that, like you were talking about attachment to pets and different members of family. So I just recently, I had gone through a very, there's a very sad incident in my life. One of my pets expired, and I'm mentally not well. How can I come out from this situation?
You have to see, why did you build an attachment to the pet? Let's understand that, right? You built attachment to the pet by repeated thinking. No, it doesn't happen automatically. You did not sleep and woke up with attachment. You repeatedly thought there is happiness in the pet, there is happiness, some kind of a happiness you perceived in that thing. By repeated contemplation, those neural networks, they get formed to that personality, object, or a pet. Now you have to do the reverse chintan. You have to bring the right knowledge in your mind. You know what? Everybody is a soul. They are on their journey. So you have to look at that attachment in perspective and dovetail your attachment towards God. Start building that part of it. Okay, happiness is in God, happiness is in God, happiness is in God. Pet has moved on in its journey. Because if you continue to harbor that thing, then it is not going to be helpful for you, right? So you start building, now start repeating that process in the other direction. So the way you developed attachment towards pet, the same process you can repeat towards God as well. You already have that ability. And with the right knowledge, you can break those channels that you have built towards the pet. Just wish it best. Now that it has moved on into its next journey, maybe the God has better things in store for the soul, right? And then let go of that part. You can't build that attachment and affect your own spiritual journey with that. But keep attending the session. Pleasure to have you, Jyoti. And if you keep on attending the sessions and keep on contemplating on this knowledge, after a while, all the loose pieces in your head will settle down, and you'll be able to proceed with a lot of conviction and confidence around this thing. If you have any other questions, feel free to put it in the feedback tracker. I'm happy to respond to those questions as well. Please fill out feedback tracker. Okay, that's for all as well. Yes.
Yeah, Radhe Sunday.
So like when we were talking about the selfless relations or anything which is closest to that, can we also say from like the way our guru treats us, like from his perspective, it is kind of purely selfless?
Yes. So guru and God, they have nothing for themselves to do. Anything and everything that they do is for the welfare of others. Okay, so a realized guru, they have nothing for for their own sake to achieve. So because when we do any act, it is motivated by self-desire, because we are not siddha yet. When they do any act, it is not motivated by anything for their own sake. It is always motivated for Jan Kalyan, for the help or the welfare of them. That is the difference between our acts and the acts of God and Guru. They don't have anything to achieve, right? It's only for the welfare of others. And in 4.9, when we get into that, we'll talk a little bit more about that concept, difference between our acts and God's acts. God says, Janma karm cha me divyam. His acts are divine. God's acts are divine. Guru's acts are also divine. So we'll talk more about that concept. So it's not motivated by anything for their own at all, if they are realized. Okay, that is the prerequisite.
Thanks. And then there's just two questions. One, because we have been discussing, I think, attachment and next birth a lot. So people are asking questions around that. So that is it attachment or is it our karma that decides our next birth? That's one of the questions.
Is it attachment? Is it our karma? Yeah, so basically karma is something like a arrow that is released. You have already released that arrow. You cannot take it back. Okay, so karma will catch up with you. It never misses its date. Now, in which lifetime, God only knows that. He knows the appropriate time when the fruit of that karma will be given to you at that point. So karma, there's no escape from karma. Prarabdha, nobody can escape that. And of course, your attachment is also another variable, right? It is also a karma that you are building through your attachment as well. So both have a play in that. And your secret or the most deepest attachment, it is like they say, when you open an animal farm and there is, some space for animals to run through, the animal which is the fittest and the strongest will come the fastest, right? And same thing happens when you leave this body. The thought that will persist in your head is your strongest, the fittest and the strongest attachment that you have. That thought will preoccupy your mind and dominate your thought process. That will dictate your next life. Karma will catch up with you anyways, whenever you're born as humans. It will not miss it. So let's say your attachment was to your pet. You become that species. But then when you become human after 8.4 million or whenever, then karma will catch up with you. Karma is not going to evaporate anywhere. Okay, as an animal, you cannot take that karma, but as a human, whenever you will come, the karma will come.
And okay, there's cool. And there's a funny comment, I guess. Only Yudhishthir could go with a dog to heaven. How did that happen?
Yudhishthir, okay, he was in heaven. You are not allowed to go in this gross body, by the way, made up of Panch Mahabhut. Yudhishthir was an exception, but then Pandavas all were exception. Okay, they were realized souls. Yudhishthir was also a realized soul, but yeah, he was Dharmaraj, and for his thing, he got that privilege that he could go to Swarglok with this material body. Otherwise, Indra does not allow that. It's like, right? You put a notice, these people are not allowed. people in Panchtan, Mahabhut are not allowed, but Yudhishthir was an exception because he was a man of extraordinary, dharma, pious deeds at that point. So it was kind of an exception. Yes, Urvi?
Radhe Radhe Urvi.
Radhe Radhe. Yeah, actually, I also had a question, and one more thing. I just raised my hand, and I don't know how it happens. Every time I want to present, my laptop speaker stopped working,
No
so I
worries, that's
joined with
fine.
the phone.
No worries. You don't
So
have to.
actually,
We can do it in another session, maybe. I know we are pretty much overshot, so you want to do it when everybody is around. So maybe we can plan it sometime next week.
okay. And I also had one question related to attachment, that as of now, like if there is not much attachment in the world, how can we ensure that it does not even happen in the future?
See, ye anuragi chitta ki gati samjhe na koi. So chitta has its job. The dharma of chitta is to get attached. There is no way you cannot attach your mind to anything. Okay, it will find its thing to get attached to. Something it will find. So the principle that Maharaji and Swamiji so closely gives is, when you attach your mind to God, automatically it will get detached from world. 10% attached to world, 10% detachment has already happened. So the only way you can foolproof or ensure it is by increasing your attachment to God. The detachment will be a natural consequence. You don't have to put a separate effort to detach your mind to God. So keep increasing that proportion. And see, if you do seva, you do sadhana, you do satsang, you're increasing your odds of having divine sentiments, for the rest of your life. And when you are following the fundamentals, then you don't have to be worried about it, right? And Guru is there. Guru's takes care of a lot of things. You have a sincerity at heart, purity of intention. You want to progress. You want to do your seva. Guru, leave it to Guru to take care of. Don't be unnecessarily paranoid. Okay. Follow the fundamentals. Have trust in God and Guru. And don't complicate your thought process every moment, because when we create fears, we are creating tests for ourselves. Fear is a speculative event in future your mind is creating, which may or may not happen. So God is saying, why do you create that? Why unnecessary create that, right? Have faith, follow the fundamentals. And when you're following the fundamentals, Guru's there. He knows our best intentions, and then leave it to God and Guru the rest. They'll take care of it. But if we continue becoming paranoid, it doesn't help in our devotion. So don't worry too much about that. So what? I mean, Guru has to accompany us even if we become a donkey. That's fine. Okay, your wish, God. I am going to focus on what is in my hand, continue to do my work, and have purity and sincerity at my heart. And I'll try to follow the principles that you have outlined for me. That's all we can do.
There are a few lines shared by Ashutosh in the chat, if I can read them. It is very relevant to the topic we are discussing. So, Jeev, Mata, Pita, Pati, Govind, Radhe, O Ekmatra Krishna, Tum hi bata de. O Shri Krishna, you alone are the mother, father, and protector of every individual soul. And there are two other lines also. Jagat Pita hai Hari, Govind, Radhe, Hari se bada Pita, Guru hi bata de.
Very true. Very nice. It's from Radha Govind Geet, right? Yeah, very nice. Even in Sanskrit, we say, right? Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva, tvameva bandhu cha sakha tvameva. We have recited it so many times. Tvameja vidya cha dravidam tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. We say that. But if you think deeply, essentially that's what we are telling God. You are my everything, right? Sakha, friend, all these relatives and natis are not. You only alone are mine. There are Sanskrit shloka around that as well, but that knowledge is not deeply embedded in us. We have heard about it, but not deeply contemplated about it. And that is the gap we need to bridge. Okay, I know long session today. Annapurna ji, real quick, you wanted to say something? And then I think we have over-celebrated Father's Day before the Father's Day. Okay, so do we have anybody for devotional segment today? We can probably have one or two. You're welcome to stay back. Typically, we do chantings, but I think we had a pretty good conversation today. Annapurna ji, you wanted to add something real quick?
Can I add one thing, Nitin ji? Because if we like this session, then don't forget about the special Sunday satsang at Father's Day special with Swami ji. I put the details in the chat, and I can put it again. And you can watch live it on Zoom from the comfort of your home. And whoever is jealous can visit the temple.
Yes, please do that. And the Yoga Fest, needless to say, check it out. We have a lot of nice speeches and speakers lined up for that, and events as well. There's a cooking contest is what I'm hearing, which is pretty exciting. Check out those details. I think the links have been posted, I believe, in the chat already. So do check it out as well. Okay.
Yes, what I wanted to say is, I was listening to the discussion about Dharmaraya going to, heaven with a dog, but that dog was not ordinary dog, it was Dharma. I think it was, that's why I think eventually in the end, it takes the form of Yamadharma, Dharma, because he was always holding on to Dharma. So it was, he never wanted to go alone. So I think Dharma was pleased. I just wanted to say that it was no other than Dharma.
Sure. Thank you for clarifying that, Annapurna ji. Thank you very much. Yes, Rahul, it is Sandhya ji. Both Sandhyas have raised their hand. I don't know which one will call first.
Yeah, Sandhya ji. Yeah, Radhe Radhe Sandhya ji.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya ji.
Am I
Yes,
muted? Or?
No, you are audible now. Yeah.
Oh, so you can hear me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Radhe Radhe everyone. It's not a question, actually, devotional bhajan. So it starts with me. Okay.
You move to devotional segments, both.
Yeah, that's what. It's not a question from my side.
All right. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
See, other thing that we need to understand from the session is we don't need to harbor resentment, okay, or towards anybody as well. Because if we are not able to give it a closure in our head, then that resentment, you will get more reasons for that resentment in your next life as well. That means one thing, you will have to follow that person, right? Because God is going to put you with the same person if you have resentment, bitterness towards that. And secondly, of course, you are building bad sanskars. And thirdly, you're losing time for devotion. So that is another thing, right? Why would you want to be put up with the same person whom you resent or you are bitter about? Because that was not the purpose of this universe or God. So now you have to repeat with the same person, same situation, same circumstance, and you have not even learned the lesson around it. So it's very important for us to let go of resentment and bitterness towards anybody and everybody and give it a closure quickly in your head. And the only way you can give it a closure when you start attaching your mind to God and get that wisdom. Otherwise, whole life goes, okay, this person did that, this person did that, this problem, that problem, he was like that. What are you doing? You are creating a business case for yourself to repeat in this world with similar kind of people and similar kind of situations. So if you are fed up of that, it's better to let go of it in your head. Okay, now we move to the devotional segment. So we have 3 hands, 3 people are going to sing. So we'll start with S&S and then you will come. Okay, Urvi will come. Yes, Sandhya.
Yeah, which Sandhya?
Thank you, everybody. And you can stay back for our devotional segment and please fill out the feedback tracker as well. So let's get into that and spend some time in chanting. And happy Father's Day once again to all of you.
Happy Father's Day, everyone. So can
Please
I start?
go ahead, Sandhya.
Yeah, thank you. Jagatpati Hari Sai Gopala, Jagatpati Hari Sai Gopala, Jagadhodhara Sai Nandalala, Jagadhodhara Sai Nandalala, Madhuradipati Krishna Gopala, Madhuradipati Krishna Gopala, Madhura Madhura He Sai Gopala, Madhura Madhura He Sai Gopala, Jagadhodhara Sai Nandalala, Jagadhodhara Sai Nandalala, Sai Nandalala, Jai Jai Gopala, Sai Nandalala, Jai Jai Gopala, Sai Nandalala, Jai Jai Gopala, Jagatpati Hari Sai Gopala, जगधोधारा साई नंदलाला मधुराधिपते कृष्ण गोपाला मधुर मधुर हे साई गोपाला मधुर मधुर हे साई गोपाला जगधोधारा साई नंदलाला जगधोधारा साई नंदलाला. Sai Ram, thank you.
Beautiful, Sandhya ji. Very, very nice. Loved it. You sing well. So, love to hear more bhajans from you. Please keep practicing and bringing more bhajans to our session. Thank you so much. All right. Sandhya ji, move on, and another Sandhya comes in. So, please go ahead, Sandhya.
After Sandhya ji, I'm not sure if I should.
No, go ahead, please.
But this is like a very
You are sandwiched between Sandhya ji and Urvi, okay? So
I know that's such a difficult thing, right? But okay, this is just a childish thing that I got reminded of, and Father's Day. So I will just sing these two lines. चंदा ने पूछा तारों से, तारों ने पूछा हजारों से, सबसे प्यारा कौन है? पापा, मेरे पापा, कान्हा, मेरे कान्हा, कान्हा, मेरे कान्हा. That's it.
Beautiful, short and sweet. Very nice, Sandhya. Good, you brought it on Father's Day, and I like the improvisation you did. Thank you so much for that. Great. Yes, Survi, go ahead. All yours. The stage is all set for you.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
I wanted to sing a few lines of Man Tero Sacho Yaar because it is related to today's topic.
Sure.
मन तेरो साचो यार ब्रजराज कुमार मन तेरो साचो 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 यार ब्रजराज कुमार तेरो सोई स्वामी सोई सखा सुत भरतार तेरो सोई स्वामी सोई सखा सुत भरतार मन तेरो साचो यार ब्रजराज कुमार झूठो जग व्यवहार झूठे सब नातेदार झूठो जग व्यवहार झूठे सब नातेदार मन तेरो साचो यार ब्रजराज कुमार मन तेरो साचो 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 यार ब्रजराज कुमार तेरो दो प्राणाधार हरि गुरु एक सार तेरो दो प्राणाधार हरि गुरु एक सार मन तेरो साचो यार ब्रजराज कुमार मन तेरो साचो 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 यार ब्रजराज कुमार. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe. Beautiful, Urvi. Spot on bhajan for the discussion that we had today, right? Hari Guru are our true relatives, nobody else, right? So whole world is kind of a drama unfolding around us, and we make it our reality. Truly not. Lifetime after lifetime. Thank you so much, Urvi. Beautiful bhajan. Great. So with that, I think we have pretty much covered everybody. I think we went a little over time today, but it was Father's Day, so I think we could cut a little bit of slack today. So have a great, wonderful weekend, all of you. And next week, I'll see you again. We'll continue on our journey on chapter 4 that we are doing. And if there is anything in particular you want to talk about, let me know. We can create a series for that. I was thinking of doing one on stress management. Work is in progress, so very soon. I don't know when we'll start, but we'll do that series. And then, of course, on grace and surrender, we keep using these words, and people say that what does it actually mean? So we can pick up on that topic as well on one of the weeks. But yeah, if you have anything in mind, do write. And if it is a common theme, then we can definitely do a series on that. All right. Well, happy Father's Day to all of you. And have a wonderful, great, blessed weekend. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Radhe Radhe from my side. Good day. Good night.
Thank you, Nitinji, for such an awesome, super awesome session. Yeah, Radhe Radhe. And see you everyone on Sunday. Special satsang. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.